is really critical to the success of our plans, and that is the educational program of instruction and the support services is the primary driver for your facilities needs. We can all hope and want and visualize facilities, but ultimately the state of California requires and the program of instruction requires that the facilities really be geared towards what we're doing here. We're educating students, and we need to keep that in mind throughout our process. The plan, the educational master plan, and the bridging document inform the facilities needs. They talk about financial needs, they talk about enrollment management, they talk about how the facilities are used on the campus. The activities that we went through, as I said, we started with the documents that you all produced here at the campus. We looked at the environment as well a little bit to come up with a growth model. How fast is the college going to grow in the future, and where is it headed? And then from that information, what kind of facilities and how much are going to be needed in the future? So the McIntyre report looked at a district level, a district-wide level with all 4 colleges and their interrelationships and population growth rate and all those things. We looked at Merritt College, the environmental scan as well in a little more detail. And we were able to validate in our estimation the projections done by the McIntyre group. These are just a few of the charts that you'll see in the plan. They're charts that you're probably well familiar with from fact books and different things that your research department does. Well, here's where the rubber meets the road on all that information, is that the growth rate of WISH, which is weekly student contact hours, which is analogous to FTES, is anticipated to grow at about 2.4% per year through the year 2022. Now, it's not going to be a straight line. We're going to have some peaks and valleys in that growth. But this is an estimation of where the college is going. This will take the head count from 7,000 students up to about 10,000 students by the year 2022, which is a substantial growth, obviously. Now, what this means, yes?
How do you get that? I mean, like, how do you actually, I mean, like, is economy is such a big thing, and our students are usually older, so it isn't that the households are coming of age and then they're going to community college, since most of our students seem to be out of high school for several years. So how exactly do you predict those kinds of growth rates?
We look at all the different components. The population growth rate, which is negligible. Yeah. We look at the economy, but really, when you're looking out to 2022, we're probably going to have 2 cycles by the time we get there, of up and down and up now. It's a little bit of science and it's a little bit of art, and we've been quite good at it in the past. Over the long haul, we're pretty accurate. Now, if we're off by a few years, it's really not critical. In other words, we're saying in this whole plan and in the facilities plan, when you get to this size college, these are the facilities you're going to need. How many square feet? So if you hit that 4 years early or 4 years late, it doesn't really hurt you that much. So it's not really critical that we hit it on the nose. And I'll be back in 14 years and we'll see how well we did. Okay? This chart shows your program of instruction in top code format. So don't expect to see your departments on this chart. This is top code by the Chancellor's Office. And this is just a snapshot of your fall 07 semester. We started this before your fall 08 data was available. And again, it's just used as a baseline for growth. We then took, by department, we looked very carefully at every single department, and we came up with, we applied a growth rate to go from 07 to 2022. Now, before anybody asks any questions, we are not dictating curricular content in our plan at all. This is done to estimate how many square feet of lab and lecture and office and library space you're going to need in 15 years. So Through Title V of the Ed Code, there are all kinds of formulas for how you figure out how much space you get. A biology lab gets a different amount of space than a chemistry lab gets a different amount than a classroom, etc. Ultimately, this list is the Chancellor's Office list of all the different space types on a college campus. Like I said, there's classrooms, labs, library, and greenhouse, food service, merchandising, all kinds of space. The first column has your current inventory of space, how much you have right now. Inactive, by the way, is space that's under renovation or not being used. This column has the 2022 space need, and the last column has the net amount. So the bottom line is that Merritt College will need about 45,000 additional square feet of space. Now that's assignable square feet, that's inside the walls, which is a substantial amount of space. However, when you look at the different categories, you'll see some positives and some negatives. A negative indicates that you have more space today than the data shows you're going to need by 2022. And people are going to say, well, we have more classroom space than we're going to need in 2022. Sometimes we have trouble finding a classroom for our particular course. And there's two reasons for that. One is you have some bad space. You have space that isn't configured in the best way to deliver your program of instruction. And that's why we're here. We're planning to have excellent facilities in the future, and the right kind and the right size facilities. And the second contributor to that is using the space the full number of hours per week that the Chancellor's Office asks us to, which is 8 to 4, Monday to Friday. Students aren't always going to sign up for all those slots, we know that, but we have to try to get the college as close to that as possible and use the facilities as effectively as possible. So this chart here is really the nexus between the educational plan and the facilities plan. And this was given to the architects and helped inform them as they planned future facilities for the college. Yeah.
I'm just curious also about needing less office and conference space.
Right.
I know that we all feel like most people feel like we don't have enough office space and conference space. So again, is that because we have bad spaces, or like why did that come up?
Good question. The question is why? How can we be over on? How can the college have more office space than's needed when we're all crowded and can't find places to meet? Let me explain also. Student services spaces out here, admissions and records and financial aid. That's considered office space as well. It's not just your traditional office. And the Chancellor's Office is a very arcane formula. You get 140 square feet per full-time equivalent faculty member. Okay? And then that total has to be divided among student services, all the faculty, all the adjunct faculty, and staff and administrators. So that's why you don't get a 140 square foot office.
So the formula is what's
yeah. Now, is it configured in the best way possible? No. And it can be adjusted. And I think what you'll see in WLC's plan is with new buildings and remodels of existing buildings, that will be taken into account. And by the way, one of the things we're not doing here is designing buildings. We're coming up with guidelines for the future. And you will have processes among yourselves to inform the decisions on how those buildings get designed. But this will hopefully be something that will inform you in the future. And that's a great segue, thank you. Yeah.
One more question to go back one.
Sure.
Obviously, there must be a formula for greenhouse space.
Great question.
That's my greenhouse, so I just want to know how if I'm gaining 12 sections between now and then, what I expect to lose 1,000 feet of greenhouse?
No, that's a great question. Below this line, below AVTV, there are no formulas. The state will never fund those, I won't say never, the state will rarely fund those spaces, and they don't hold you to any limitation. You could have 1 million square feet of greenhouse. There would be some bad implications to that as well, but The point is, no, you will not be, you won't be asked to, oh, we have to chop off 1,000 square feet. The only 5 spaces tracked by the Chancellor's office is classroom, lab, office, library, and AV/TV. And that's